Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope that you're enjoying your day. My name is Episcopus Squirrel, also known as Alchemage, and today I'm here I'm here to teach a little about the chakra system, or chakra. I'm not really truly sure of the actual pronunciation, as I've had little contact with people who are truly of Eastern descent and of this topic specifically. And obviously, I'm not of Eastern descent and have spent no time in India. So, the reason though that I'm bringing this up today is because I found out yesterday that everything I knew about the chakras were wrong. Go figure. Um, Yesterday at Nate on Steam It brought up the question of what is what does Namaste mean? And at River Flows brought up a discussion that she and her yoga instructor had gone over, saying that Namaste in the Western world is kind of a bastardization of what Namaste actually means in India and within the Hindu culture. And that it is a form of respectable greeting, but it's not so much of the divine in me recognizes the divine in you, which is so much preached by the Western culture, especially within the yoga practices, the yogic practices. And so this was new to me, so I did a little bit of research, and Namaste, actually pronounced Namaste, num, excuse me, hold on, I gotta remember this, Namaste, yeah, Namaste, Namaste, not Namaste, Namaste, and I might be pronouncing that wrong. That was just a phonetic spelling, so excuse me if I pronounce that wrong, and please correct me if I have. But regardless, the actual meaning of it means, literally translated, is "I bow to you." And so, through my brief research, I found that Namaste, Namaste, I'm gonna say this wrong. Excuse me. Please forgive me. Anyone out there who is of Eastern descent, I'm not trying to be culturally insensitive. I'm just not the greatest at pronouncing these things. So that said, Namaste is used as a formal greeting to your elders, to your family. It's used as both a welcoming and a farewell. And I found in my brief research that Namaste appears within the Hindu texts most frequently associated with the divine, as with gods, or with children. And so I can see how this word could become very important within the cultural context. But then, it's kind of interesting to me that within the Western world, as we appropriate things, we don't really take the cultural context. And so we see its literal understanding or its literal usage, and then we say, well, now this is actually a divine statement. And so now we have Namaste, which is now the divine in me and recognizes the divine in you. The divine in me bows to the divine in you. And so that's really interesting to me. You know, I've read this extensive article yesterday, which I'll link in this post, and talking with River Flows. You know, yoga is very fluid. It evolves very easily. There's a lot of influences. Apparently, even in India, it's extremely difficult at this point to find a yogic practice that is not influenced by the Western world. So, that said, you know, River Flows even brought up, or later brought up, that even the chakra systems are not the same. That the colors had been changed. And so I was in class when she had said this, and she emailed her instructor, and her instructor got back to her and said a little bit about the colors, and that the 7 chakra system that we're used to, the colors are completely out of order and not even necessarily the same. So, starting with a brief research, you know, River Flows said that the heart chakra is not green, that it's actually red. And so I started doing some research, and the very first bit of good information I came across said that the heart chakra was pink. Interesting. Close to red, huh? And so I then did more research, more digging, and came across this wonderful NPR website or article, which was written by a Sanskrit scholar. And basically, he says that everything you know is not right about the chakra system. But he also says that, excuse me, what did he say? That if it's worked for you, that he's not here to tell you that it's wrong, or that it's not real, that it's not, that it doesn't work for you, that whatever, you know, he's not saying that. The author is simply saying that the systems that we use today are not actually the real systems that we are being taught as ancient techniques, ancient systems. In fact, the 7 chakra system, this article actually goes to say that it's actually a 6 chakra system, 6 plus 1 chakra system, not a specific 7. It doesn't really go too much in depth with that. I'm going to do some research on my own for that. But basically, you know, crap, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, the 6 plus 1 chakra system that we use today in the Western world is actually something that was developed in a treatise in like 1500s, something like that. He said that there is a brief mention of a similar system back from the 13th century BC, but before that, after that, the next time it's actually talked about is within the 1500s, and that's where it really goes into depth and to detail and the workings of it. So that said, this chakra system is actually only one of a very large number of chakra systems. There are multiple different numbers, chakras with only 5, 3, with 7, 12, and so on. There's so many different chakra systems. And not just that, but the actual chakras are arranged differently. The colors are also arranged differently depending on the chakra system. And really, it depends largely on the elemental foundation. So with the sixth chakra system, they use earth, water, fire, wind, space. And then I can't remember if it fully went into that. But yeah, it's largely based on the elemental system that you're using. And so that said, the bindu, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly either. The sounds that are chanted with each of the chakras that are said to be for the Muladhara, for the Sahasrara, etc. The different chakras and the different sounds, seed sounds for them, like Lam for the Muladhara. That's actually not the case. The case is that each of these chakras have an element that is associated largely with them. And so, that said, you can actually move these sounds per which chakra you need. That was another thing I completely should have started with. The chakras are not descriptive but prescriptive, as this is what this scholar, this Sanskrit scholar, actually says, is that they're not descriptive but they're prescriptive. And basically, these texts are telling us what we can do, how to do it, in order to install different energies. And that's another thing, is that these chakras are not just there and, what they are is they're a template for installing deity energies, the energies of different gods. And so because each of the chakras have a god or gods associated with them, and depending on the different systems you're working with, depends on which gods are present and available to work with. And so an individual, we don't have these spinning wheels all the time. Perhaps, as an adept, as a practiced individual who is constantly activating these things, perhaps, you might have it open all the time. However, these chakras are simply spaces, places where people have spiritual experiences. And so the prescription is to visualize these specific images with these deities and use these specific sacred sounds to intone magical experience and to reach these different parts of the mind and the body and the spirit. And so there's so much, and I probably missed a lot. So go ahead and read this article that I'll be posting if you're really interested. It's a really wonderful article. There's a couple things that I'll also post. I'll post the seed sounds and the elements that they're associated with. So in case you want to incorporate this into your practice and be able to instead of using yum for the heart, which is wind, you can use lam, which is earth, to ground yourself, because a grounded heart can help. So I appreciate you joining me today, and I hope you learned something. Please ask any questions. Please go through this article, and have a wonderful day.